Hello again and welcome back to my channel for part 2 in my series of videos showing you my full coloring book collection, including whips and completed works. Today I'm going to be showing you more of the books where I have completed pages in them, and we're going to start with Johanna Basford's Secret Garden. This was the first coloring book I purchased way back in 2013. But then I didn't carry on coloring for quite some time. It was only in 2020 when I started coloring again. So in this book you will see a lot of whips, a lot of test pages, and not as good coloring as what I do now. But at the same time I think that it's a good thing because it's encouraging for all of us as beginners to see how coloring can change with time, and that the skill we have as people who color can grow and develop. So this is a more recent completed page. I used Prismacolors on this paper, and it's the only page where I've used Prismacolors, and I did find it a lot easier because I didn't have to layer them. I find the size of Johanna Basford's drawings in Secret Garden are quite small, and they don't really allow for much layering. Here I was using Derwent's artist pencils. Those were the pencils I had way back in 2013, and I did really enjoy coloring with them in this book. It was a pleasure, it really was. And this is some coloring I was doing with one of my sons, and that was in 2020. And this I think was Inktense, and I let one of my boys color in this page. So the joys of being a parent, nothing really stays yours. Here I was testing markers, and my youngest son was coloring in a little bit until he found out I had gone and taken markers here, and then he decided he was too offended to carry on with the double spread. So whoops. Here again I'm testing, I was just playing around with Derwent artist pencils. Over here I'm playing with the direction of the light, and I was using Inktense pencils in here, and I found that they worked quite well, although blending them out seamlessly was a bit more tricky. But I think what I would do is just pull off the ink with the brush off the pencil and then apply it to the picture. Here again is just coloring with Derwent artists, and this is one of the completed pages I did using the Derwent artists, and again nothing really fancy, just simple coloring, color combinations. Here I was trying to get a bit more complex with the different layers of the sunflower, but backgrounds weren't a feature for me at this time. I don't know. Again, just coloring and then abandoning it. Here, this is from 2020, and I was using Castle Arts in this one and getting a feel for different color combinations and techniques. And you can see already here how, compared to in 2013, the change in my coloring. So comparing this to this, I'd already grown without even realizing it. So that's just what happens when you enjoy your hobby, you know. This is Inktense, and I was coloring with one of the boys again. Castle arts here. I do find the castle arts are more vibrant than the Derwent artists, and I enjoyed coloring with them a lot more. The scribbles were when my kids were toddlers. And this was the first completed page I did in 2020. I used Derwent artists for the entire page, and really thoroughly enjoyed coloring again. And this was when I started picking up coloring in earnest. I got new after this page. I bought the Castle Art pencils and a few coloring books, and I was able to really create some great works from the start. This is Inktense, and that is all in Joanna Basford's Secret Garden, which is more of a sentimental book for me now than a book I will go and color much in. She's a great artist, and I do admire her work, and I love to see how other people color Joanna Basford pictures, but it's not quite my style, so I don't know if I will buy more than just this book. But it's lovely to have something so special in my collection. Next up, I have Rita Berman books, and I got these much later on in my coloring journey. I got the Welt unter de Lupus Zulande first, and yeah, I love the pictures, and then when I got the book I wasn't sure where to start, how to color in, but I did manage. And if I just bring you in a bit, this page was done with Marco Raffine coloring pencils and Neocolors in the background, with white Uniball Signo pen for the bubbles. And I found the Marco Raffines were much harder than I like. In a way, they reminded me of the Derwent Artist pencils, and I really struggled to blend them out seamlessly. So compared to the Castle Arts, they just weren't working out for me, so I haven't really gone back to the Marco Raffines. To be honest, I don't really like them. Then I lent my book to a very good friend of mine, and she colored this beautiful page, and I asked her to sign it for me. So this is not my coloring, but my friend's, and I'm very pleased to have something so special in my book. Over here I was testing Arteza. So this page was my first attempt with Arteza pencils, and I used Artezas for the whole page, and the white dots were done with white Posca pen and white Uniball Signo pen. Then I moved on to this page, which I still need to finish, and I used Artezas with a bit of Neocolor for the ground. I'm in a bit of a love-hate relationship with the way I've done the mouse, so I'm stuck in two minds about finishing this page or just abandoning it altogether. So we'll see. Over here I was testing Inktense, but I didn't like the way it was working out, so I abandoned it. And I have one more finished work here. And this page I use Brute Funa round pencils, and I liked how they behaved on the paper. It was also my first attempt at a bokeh background, and I think I got the idea, although I'm not 100% sure the execution is fantastic. But I do also like the autumn colors. I colored this when we were caravanning between houses last year we had to move house, and a few housing options had fallen through for us. So while we were looking for a place to rent, we needed to caravan, and we caravanned for 9 days. So the weather was turning much colder, and it was an adventure. And it was lovely to just have a small book to color in. And I actually bought this book specifically to color in, because all my other coloring books were packed away and I hadn't colored in about 6 weeks. So that is De Welt unter der Lupe Zulande by Rita Berman. Next up is Rita Berman's Mein Reis durch Europa, and here I have a few completed works. On the left side was my first page. I did follow a bit of Zucchini Kitty's coloring video for this page. I used Arteza pencils, and I think I may have used a bit of Prisma. When I came to the background, I tried to do distress inks, but I didn't test it beforehand, and when I applied the distress inks onto the paper, it just completely messed everything up, and I don't know how to fix it. So I'm not very proud of it. I like the way I colored everything else, but the background does spoil it, and right now I'm not sure what to do to fix this page. So this is one of those where I'm just going to put it down to a lesson learned, and that is try again, or that distress inks don't work very well for me in Rita Berman's books. But then I redeemed myself on this page where I used Prismacolors and white Uniball Signo pen and white Posca pen, and I absolutely loved this page. I loved learning how to create the coloring for the map and for the different areas of the terrain. And I really wanted to create a living map. So this map has a special place for me. It was a lovely challenge to try and balance all the colors, and this is where I first saw that I don't know how to color red apples, because red apples end up being orange. So I really need to work on apples, specifically red apples. And then my whip is this spread, which I am going to be finishing very soon and releasing the videos for. And then finally, right at the back, I have hidden away a picture. So I went back in with distress inks, and this time I was able to get more coverage with them, but I didn't like the way they blended for the ground, so I went over it with Neocolor 2s. And the only part I don't like is this transition between the sky and the ground. It's a bit muddy. The rest of the page I did with Brut Funa round pencils, and I did enjoy using them. I find that they really do work well on this paper. And then I used Dovecraft glitter gel for all the glittery bits, and white Uniball Signo pen for the white highlighted areas. And this was also my attempt at a bit of a fall picture. So that is Mein Reis durch Europa by Rita Berman. Next up is The Magical City by Lizzie Mary Cullen, which should have been in my previous video, but slipped through the cracks because there are more whips in here than completed works. All of the pictures I've done are with Inktense, so here I was trying with Inktense, and I've almost finished it. I just need to do the buildings and this area here. I was playing around with different smoke colors. This is the first completed page I have in this Magical City, I followed Peter Hewitt's coloring tutorial for this page, and I learned a lot about how to color in Lizzie Mary Cullen's books, how to use the Inktense books. Sorry, not the Inktense books, the Inktense pencils, and also the different combinations to use. And it was a really pleasure to learn from someone as experienced as Peter Hewitt. The other whip I have is this one. I'm not following any tutorial for it. I used some Neocolors here for the sky, and the rest is Inktense, and I'm planning on coming back to this and finishing this relatively soon. On this side, I've got Neocolor 2s in the background, and I'm doing Inktense. I do find these designs a bit tricky to figure out what's what, so I don't always know where the sky is, where the water is. For example, here between these pillars, I'm not sure if that's background or water, or if it's sky. So this is where I will need to go to a reference photo. Maybe someone else has colored in this page, and then I can see what they did and just sort of get some help. But I do know that this is Venice, so we'll get there. I really do love coloring in this book. I love using the Inktense. I just need to keep persevering with it, and I will be able to actually complete something. My final whip in this book is this one. St. Basil's Cathedral. Fortunately, I've written down all my pencils, and I did the sky quite dark, so I decided to turn it into a night sky, and yeah, it's gone really well. I started this in 2020, so I need to re-look at some of the pictures people have colored in, and just remind myself what's what, and carry on with it. And it's lovely. I love using my Inktense pencils, especially in books like this where I don't need to worry about realism. I can just color, because these sort of designs don't really lend itself to like realistic art. It's more the coloring with the right colors, and making sure your bricks look like bricks. But there's the way she does the perspective is very different, so it does give a bit of leeway to experiment and play around with it. So yeah, that is Magical City by Lizzie Mary Cullen. One of the books I do really enjoy, but don't color in much because I'm unsure of myself in it. Next up is A. Pole's Forest Girls coloring book. I have done 2 pages in here, but the one page I gifted to a friend of mine, so unfortunately I can't show you. I have a lot of pictures in here. This one I was doing a color along with Color and Chat with Sammy, and I just haven't returned to it. And some of the other tags are just places where I've done skin tone and just experimented. So here I've done something here. Don't know what I was doing. This is a Christmas page I want to do. This is the winter one I want to do. I colored this page for my friend, but I used different colors. This is one of the whips, and I've been using watercolor neocolors on the background, and just building it up slowly. And then this is my completed work. I started this with Prismacolors, but I found the paper didn't really like the Prismacolors, and I was having to really work to build up the layers, and I was just getting frustrated with it. So I decided to take the Neocolors, and I went over the leaves and the rest of the girl and the dog with the Neocolors, and I found that it was really quick and effective, and I really did enjoy it. The skin of the girl I did with Castle Arts. So I'm really proud of this one, considering it's predominantly done in Neocolor twos, and I want to carry on using Neocolors as a form of actual painting, and I want to do it in this book because I think the artist originally does all her pictures in watercolor. So it's not a hard and fast rule. I think I'd like to test polychromos in this book, but that is Forest Girl's coloring book. One of the earlier coloring books I bought was Nice Little Town by Tanya Bogema-Stolova, and in here I have a few completed works. So this was one I did in July 2020, and I used Castle Arts with soft pastels in the background. And yeah, it's not my best work, but it was fun to color. I did get frustrated with the paper because I couldn't layer up the colors as much as what I like, and it is a bit more simple, but it was a good experiment to try keep myself working on lighter colors and not always gravitating to very dark and rich colors, and I did thoroughly enjoy the design. I also learned more about wood here and how to color in the stones. The other page I've completed is this one. Again, I used Castle Arts. I did not do a background, but I really enjoyed this one, and I learned a lot about light and dark and shadows. So also reflecting the light of different places. I learned a bit more on how to do transparent material. So it was a lovely time. I really did enjoy. This is one of my whips, and this one I got stuck because I don't actually know how to color the area around the bottles. I don't want it to be dark and clash with the shadow part of the, I don't know, the mountain, the hill, the rock. So I kind of stopped on this one. My other whip is here. I'm very proud of the quality I was getting here. The tone was coming along really nicely, and I was using a scribbly sort of way of coloring to build up texture on the butternut. And then here again, I'm just using Castle Arts. I was working on rocks and learning how to bring in greens to add that mossy effect to the rocks. I think the quality of the paper is what really put me off, and I just stopped coloring in. But the pictures I did color in, I thoroughly enjoyed. And that is Nice Little Town 6 by Tanya Bogema-Stolova. Next I have Coloring Heaven's Steampunk Special, and this one I have done 3 pages. I really have thoroughly enjoyed coloring steampunk, and I started in the beginning of the book, and I used Neocolors for the background, gel pens for his vest. I went and did the rest of the boy with Prismacolors. I had been watching Monia Gates' tutorials on skin where she uses purples and blues and greens, and I used greens as an undertone for his skin, but I think I was too heavy-handed with the greens, so he ended up having a too much of a greenish tinge to him, and I really had to work with yellows and purples to neutralize the skin. In the process, I lost quite a bit of the darker shading, so it's not my best skin tone, but it was a good learning curve. His hair came out really, really lovely. I watched a few tutorials on how to draw realistic leather, and so that really helped me with the belt and the buckles. I also watched Lisa Matrokin's tutorial on steampunk metals and borrowed her color combination for the button here and the goggles. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this little boy. He was so much fun and inspired me to go on to the next one. Here I used Derwent Graphitint for the background, so I layered it with the pencil, went over it with water, and then I reapplied the Graphitint pencil over. I used Inktense on the hat, but the cogs, the buckle, and the rest of the girl I used Prismacolors. She is my best skin so far in my completed works. Her skin, her hair, and her dress or her shoulder shawl really came out beautifully, and I'm very, very proud of her. I had been using Chris Cheng tutorials to help me, and I found that her approach to skin tone was better suited for me at the level I currently am in my coloring journey. So, and to be honest with you, I think I need to go and revisit those tutorials again and remind myself of the technique that Chris Cheng uses, you know, leaving certain areas white, where to put the shadows and that sort of thing. So the only drawback here is the eyepiece is lost in the color of her hair, so it doesn't stand out. So maybe I should have given her a different color hair, because I don't know how else I could have done the eyepiece to have it stand out. I used a bit of gel pen on the smaller parts of the eyepiece. I then came to this girl and chose a limited palette. I used eyeshadow for the background. I had tried to do eyeshadow on her face and hands, but found that it wasn't working at all, so I ended up erasing it and redoing her skin with Prismacolors. In the end, it turned out okay. It wasn't a complete disaster, and I was still able to keep some definition on her skin and on her face. I still need to learn how to create white clothes without it looking too grubby, although the colors do work, so it's not a complete disaster. And I finished this in September, and that is all I have done in Steampunk Coloring Heaven Special. Next up is my Country Charm coloring book by Teresa Goodridge in the Creative Haven books. Here I have got one completed work. This was my first experience with Teresa Goodridge books, and it was a very pleasant one. I used Prismacolors for the entire page. I think I did use watercolor on the grass areas and on the sky, and I found it was quite effective. And I really enjoyed coloring this, creating a nice beautiful barn, and also for, you know, teaching myself how to create more your white flowers with hints of color in them. So yeah, I was very pleased with this one. The birds get a little bit lost, but overall I think I did a good job. And that is Country Charm by Creative Haven. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed these videos, and I look forward to seeing you in part 3 of my series as I show you my full coloring book collection. If you have liked these tutorials, please subscribe, like and comment below. Also follow me on my Instagram. Until next time, bye for now.